The moment I stepped out of my car, the familiar scent of damp earth and old wood enveloped me, bringing forth a wave of nostalgia. My childhood home loomed in front of me, its once vibrant blue paint now dulled by time and neglect. The creaking wood of the porch echoed my thoughts as I approached the front door, each step a reminder of the laughter and tears that had filled these walls. Yet, beneath the surface of my fond memories, an unsettling feeling began to creep into my mind. "Sarah, are you really sure about this?" I muttered to myself, hesitating before pushing the door open. It swung open with a reluctant groan, revealing the dimly lit interior. Dust danced in the shafts of light that streamed through the yellowing curtains, and the air felt thick with silence. I stepped inside, the floorboards creaking under my weight, as if they too were voicing their doubts about my return. "Home sweet home," I said sarcastically, forcing a smile as I ran my fingers along the peeling wallpaper. Memories flooded back: family dinners, birthday parties, the countless times I had played hide and seek with my childhood friend, Tom. But as I wandered deeper into the house, a chill ran down my spine. This place felt different now, as though it was holding its breath, waiting for something to happen. I dropped my bags in the living room and made my way upstairs. Each step echoed in the stillness, and I was reminded of how every creak and groan had once been a comforting soundtrack to my youth. I paused outside my old bedroom, the door slightly ajar. Taking a deep breath, I pushed it open, revealing a space frozen in time. The bed was unmade. My old stuffed animals lined up on the shelf, their button eyes staring back at me. "Okay, let's get to work," I said, shaking off the eerie feeling that had settled over me. I began unpacking, tossing clothes into the dresser and placing my books on the shelf. As I sorted through the last of my boxes, something caught my eye: a yellowed newspaper clipping peeking out from beneath a stack of old letters. I pulled it out, the brittle paper crumbling slightly in my hands. The headline read, "Forgotten Cemetery Discovered Underneath Old Manor." My heart raced as I read the article. It spoke of a cemetery that had been abandoned for decades, its gravestones long since forgotten. The words "tragic events" and "restless spirits" jumped out at me, sending a shiver down my spine. What was this doing in my childhood home? Could it be? I whispered, suddenly feeling a pull towards the backyard. The article hinted at tragic events surrounding the site, and an inexplicable curiosity ignited within me. I had to know more. That night, as I lay in bed, the house was enveloped in silence. The only sound was the soft rustle of leaves outside my window. But then, just as I was drifting off to sleep, I heard it, a faint whisper, barely audible, like the wind through the trees. I sat up, my heart pounding. "Hello?" I called out, my voice trembling in the stillness. No answer came, only the sound of my own breath echoing in the dark. I dismissed it as my imagination, a trick of the mind in this old house. Yet, I felt an inexplicable urge to explore the backyard. Wrapping a shawl around my shoulders, I quietly slipped out of bed and padded down the creaky stairs, the whispers still lingering in my ears like a ghostly melody. As I stepped outside, the cool night air wrapped around me, and the moon cast a silvery glow on the overgrown grass. I hesitated, glancing back at the house, half expecting to see a shadowy figure watching me from the window. But all was still. I walked toward the back of the property, my heart racing with a mix of fear and excitement. "Why am I doing this?" I murmured to myself, glancing around as the whispers seemed to grow louder, swirling around me like a forgotten memory. The darkness beckoned me forward, promising secrets yet to be uncovered. The thrill of discovery surged through my veins, and I knew deep down that I was not alone in this house. Something was waiting for me, something that had been buried long ago. As I stepped into the small cafe on the corner of Maple Street, the familiar scent of freshly brewed coffee and baked pastries enveloped me like a warm embrace. It had been years since I last visited this place, but the memories came flooding back as I approached the counter. Just then, I heard a deep, familiar voice calling my name. "Sarah, is that you?" I turned to find Tom standing by the entrance, a wide grin spreading across his face. His brown hair was tousled, just like I remembered it, and his blue eyes sparkled with the same mischief from our childhood. Tom, it's been ages, I exclaimed, rushing over to give him a hug. The warmth of our embrace felt like a time machine, transporting me back to the carefree days of our youth. Wow, you look just like you did back then, just grown up, he chuckled, stepping back to take a look at me. How's the big city treating you? I shrugged, a smile still plastered on my face. It's busy, you know, but I guess there's no place like home. I glanced out the window at my childhood house, its peeling paint and creaking floors still haunting my thoughts. Tom's expression shifted slightly, a shadow crossing his features. Home. Huh? I've been feeling strange since I got back too. Like the house has a life of its own. Exactly. I leaned in closer, lowering my voice. You won't believe what I found. There's an old newspaper clipping about a cemetery that used to be here, right on our property. His brows furrowed, intrigued. A cemetery? I remember hearing whispers about it when we were kids, but I thought it was just a ghost story. Me too, but I think it's real, I replied, my heart racing at the thought. I heard whispers the first night I was back. They were so clear, Tom. It was like they were calling out to me. Tom looked at me, his expression shifting from curiosity to concern. You think it has something to do with the cemetery? I don't know, I admitted, but I feel like I need to find out. Do you want to come with me? We could check the backyard together. He hesitated for a moment, glancing out at the overgrown grass and tangled vines behind my house. You know I'm in. Let's dig up some old memories, literally. We left the cafe, the air thick with the promise of discovery. As we stepped into the backyard, the air felt charged with a strange energy. I could almost hear the echoes of the past whispering through the trees, urging us forward. With shovels in hand, we began to dig. The soil was hard and dry, resisting our efforts at first. Remember when we used to play in this yard? I can't believe we're actually digging it up now, Tom said, his voice filled with a mix of nostalgia and trepidation. Yeah, we built a fort right there. I pointed to a patch of dirt, and we thought we were invincible. As we dug deeper, our shovels hit something solid. I felt a shiver run down my spine. What is that? I asked, my voice barely above a whisper. Tom cleared the dirt away, revealing a rusted fence post. Looks like part of an old cemetery fence, he said, his eyes widening. This is it, isn't it? I nodded, feeling a chill creep up my arms. And if this is here, there has to be more. With renewed determination, we continued our search, unearthing more remnants of the past. Then, suddenly, my shovel struck something more substantial. Tom, come here. Help me with this. I called out, my heart pounding in my chest. Together, we unearthed a broken tombstone, its inscription barely legible under layers of dirt. This is real, I said, my voice trembling. These people were buried here. Tom stepped back, a look of fear etched across his face. We should probably stop, Sarah. This feels wrong. But something drew me closer to the stone, an invisible thread tugging at my heart. No, we can't stop now. I need to know who they were. As I brushed away the dirt, I felt a sudden gust of wind, and a whisper echoed through the air, sending chills down my spine. Sarah, did you hear that? I turned to Tom, my eyes wide with fear and wonder. He nodded, his expression serious. We need to get out of here. This isn't just about the past anymore. But I couldn't shake the feeling that something was awakening, something that wanted to be heard. The whispers grew louder, swirling around us like a haunting melody. Sarah? I stood frozen, my heart racing, knowing that whatever lay buried beneath us was desperate to communicate. It was time to dig deeper, not just into the earth, but into the secrets that haunted this place and my very soul. As I stepped into the dimly lit library, the smell of aged paper and dust enveloped me like a shroud. Tom followed closely behind, his footsteps echoing softly against the old wooden floor. The library was a labyrinth of towering shelves, filled with books that whispered secrets from the past. I could hardly contain my excitement mixed with anxiety. Today, we would dive deeper into the mystery that had begun to unravel since my return to Pennsylvania. Where do you think we should start? Tom asked, his voice low as if he feared disturbing the ghosts of the library. Maybe the local history section? I suggested, pointing to a sign that indicated the area. My heart raced with the prospect of uncovering more about the cemetery that lay beneath my childhood home. We navigated through the narrow aisles until we reached the dusty shelves. I ran my fingers along the spines of the books, feeling the years of forgotten tales beneath my fingertips. After a few moments of rummaging, Tom pulled out a thick volume titled The History of Hollow Creek. "This looks promising," he said, flipping it open. I leaned over his shoulder, my breath catching as I read the words on the yellowed pages. As Tom scanned the text, I caught snippets about a catastrophic fire that had blazed through the town decades ago, claiming the lives of several families. My heart sank as I realized the connection. The hurried burial of the victims had taken place in the very cemetery that lay under my backyard. "Sarah, look at this," Tom said, his voice tinged with urgency. He pointed to a passage that described the aftermath of the fire, detailing how the community had been shaken to its core. They didn't even have time to mourn properly. They were just gone. I nodded, the weight of the tragedy pressing down on me. The whispers I had heard in the night began to intertwine with the sorrow of the victims, their pain echoing through time. Reaching out to me, I felt a shiver run down my spine, realizing that these souls were not merely victims. They had unfinished business, and I was somehow linked to their story. Suddenly, the room began to spin. I gripped the edge of the table to steady myself, but my vision blurred, and vivid images flashed before my eyes. Flames licking at wooden beams, the desperate cries of people trapped inside their homes, the chaos of a night turned to hell. I gasped, pulling away from the table as the realization washed over me. "Sarah, are you okay?" Tom's voice broke through the haze, filled with concern. I don't know," I stammered, my heart racing. "I just had a flashback. A fire. It was horrible, Tom. I think I might be connected to this somehow." "What do you mean?" He leaned closer, his brow furrowing in concentration. "I can feel their pain. It's like I was there." "I have to know more," I replied, shaking off the lingering dizziness. The urgency of my mission ignited within me, and I felt an overwhelming need to understand what had happened that night. We spent hours poring over old newspapers and records, piecing together the fragments of the past. Each page we turned revealed more about the victims and their untimely end. The sense of loss hung heavy in the air, and I could feel the spirits growing restless around us, urging me to dig deeper. Finally, as the sun dipped below the horizon, casting eerie shadows in the library, Tom looked up from the book he was studying and said, "I think we need to do something. We can't just read about this. We owe it to them, Sarah." A chill ran through me at the thought of taking action, but I knew he was right. "What do you suggest?" "Maybe we could hold a seance," Tom proposed tentatively. "It could be a way to communicate with them, to understand what they want from us." I hesitated, the weight of his suggestion hanging in the air. The idea of reaching out to the spirits was both terrifying and exhilarating. "You really think it's a good idea? How else will we know? They've been trying to communicate with you, right? This could be our chance to find out what they need to move on." Tom's eyes shone with determination, and I felt my own resolve solidifying. "All right," I agreed, my voice steady despite the apprehension swirling in my gut. "Let's do it. But we need to be careful." As we made our way back to my childhood home, the weight of our decision settled heavily on my shoulders. The whispers that had haunted me since my arrival seemed to grow louder, urging me forward. I could sense the spirits were waiting, and I was beginning to understand that uncovering their truth was not just a matter of curiosity. It felt like a responsibility I had to fulfill. The room was filled with an unshakable chill, the air thick with anticipation as Tom and I sat cross-legged on the living room floor, surrounded by flickering candles. The shadows danced against the walls, creating an otherworldly ambience that heightened my senses. I could feel my heart pounding, each beat echoing in my ears as we prepared for the seance. "Are you ready?" Tom asked, his voice barely above a whisper. His eyes flickered nervously toward the darkened corners of the room, where the shadows seemed to gather more densely. "I think so," I replied, though my stomach churned with anxiety. I feel like something's going to happen tonight. Like we're on the brink of uncovering something important. He nodded, his expression a mix of encouragement and concern. Just remember to keep your mind open. Whoever is here wants to communicate. We need to listen. As we joined hands, the atmosphere shifted. A cold breeze swept through the room, causing the candles to flicker wildly. I felt a shiver run down my spine, and I closed my eyes, focusing on my breathing. I could hear the whispers, soft, insistent murmurs that felt both foreign and familiar. They beckoned me, urging me to open the door to the unknown. "Eleanor," I called out, the name spilling from my lips almost instinctively. "If you're here, please make your presence known." The room grew colder still, and suddenly, the lights flickered out completely, plunging us into darkness. My heart raced, and I squeezed Tom's hand, feeling the warmth of his grip anchor me to reality. "Eleanor?" I repeated, my voice trembling. "What do you want?" A moment of silence hung in the air before a voice, soft yet commanding, broke through the stillness. "Help us!" I gasped, my eyes snapping open as a figure began to materialize before us. Eleanor's spirit stood there, ethereal and glowing, her expression a mixture of sorrow and urgency. I could see the details of her dress, tattered and old-fashioned, and the pain etched across her face was palpable. "Your souls are trapped," I stated, the realization dawning on me. "You're seeking peace, aren't you?" "Yes," she replied, her voice echoing as if it were carried by the wind. "We are bound to this place by the chains of our unfinished business. What do you need from us?" Tom asked, his voice steady despite the fear in his eyes. Eleanor turned her gaze to him, her eyes filled with an ancient sorrow. "There is an item, a locket. It holds the key to our release. Without it, we cannot find peace." As she spoke, the energy in the room intensified, swirling around us like a tempest. I felt an overwhelming sense of responsibility wash over me, a deep urge to help these lost souls find their way. "Where is the locket?" I asked, my voice barely more than a whisper. "It is hidden within the walls of your home," Eleanor replied, her image flickering as if struggling against the weight of her own existence. "Look in the attic, where memories lie forgotten." The flickering candles began to stabilize, and the chill in the room slowly receded. I felt a sense of clarity settle over me, the urgency of our task igniting a fire within my chest. "We'll find it," I promised. "We'll help you." As the spirit of Eleanor began to fade, her expression softened with gratitude. "Thank you. I will watch over you." With that, she vanished, leaving behind an echo of her presence. The room felt lighter, and I released a breath I didn't realize I had been holding. Tom looked at me, his eyes wide with a mixture of awe and fear. "Did that just happen?" he asked, incredulous. "I think so," I replied, my mind racing. "We need to search the attic." We scrambled to our feet, the urgency of our mission propelling us forward. As we ascended the creaky staircase, I could feel the weight of history pressing down on us. Each step echoed with the memories of the past, and I wondered what secrets lay hidden in the attic. When we reached the attic door, I hesitated, my hand hovering over the doorknob. What if we find something we're not prepared for? I asked, anxiety creeping back in. Tom placed a reassuring hand on my shoulder. "We have to do this, Sarah, for Eleanor and the others. They deserve peace." I nodded, steeling myself for the unknown. With a deep breath, I turned the knob and pushed the door open. The attic was dark and musty, boxes and old furniture strewn about haphazardly, cloaked in dust. I flicked on the light, and the room came alive with shadows. "Where do we even start?" Tom asked, glancing around. "Let's just begin with the boxes," I suggested, moving toward a stack of weathered cardboard. As I rummaged, I felt an electric thrill run through me. It has to be here somewhere. We dug through the contents, uncovering old toys, faded photographs, and mementos of a life long gone. But deep down, I felt a connection to each item, an understanding that everything in this attic was a piece of the puzzle we needed to solve. "Wait," I exclaimed, pulling out a small, ornate box that had been hidden beneath a pile of clothing. My heart raced as I opened it, revealing an array of trinkets. Among them, something glinted, a locket intricately designed and seemingly untouched by time. This must be it, I breathed, holding it up to the light. Tom leaned closer, his eyes wide with realization. We found it, Sarah. This is what Eleanor was talking about. But as I cradled the locket in my palm, I felt a surge of energy, a connection that pulled me in deeper. I knew this was just the beginning of our journey, one that would lead us into the heart of a mystery long buried. As I held the locket in my trembling hands, a shiver ran down my spine. The cool metal felt alive, pulsating with energy as if the spirits themselves were urging me to act. I glanced over at Tom, who stood a few feet away, his brow furrowed with concern. You really think this is it, Sarah? The key to helping them? He asked, his voice barely above a whisper. I can feel it, Tom. There's something about this locket, I replied, my voice steady despite the whirlwind of emotions inside me. I think Eleanor's spirit is connected to it. If we can find out what she wants, maybe we can finally help them find peace. Tom nodded, his eyes reflecting a mixture of skepticism and hope. All right then, let's do it. We'll hold another seance, but this time, we focus on Eleanor. We need to understand the truth about the fire and what injustice they faced. As the sun dipped below the horizon, casting eerie shadows in my childhood home, we set up for the seance. Candles flickered ominously around us, their flames dancing like the restless spirits we sought to contact. I took a deep breath, feeling the weight of the moment pressing down on me. Are you ready? Tom asked, his voice steadying me. I nodded, clutching the locket tightly. It felt as if it was drawing me in, pulling me towards something greater, something more significant than myself. The atmosphere in the room shifted, growing heavy with anticipation. We settled into our positions, hands joined, and I closed my eyes, focusing my thoughts on Eleanor. We are here to listen, I said softly, feeling the energy in the room begin to crackle. Almost immediately, the temperature dropped. I opened my eyes, and the shadows grew darker, swirling around us as if alive. Eleanor, we're here, I called out, my voice trembling. There was a moment of silence, and then the candles flickered violently, casting erratic shadows against the walls. Suddenly, a figure began to materialize before us, translucent and shimmering with a soft, ethereal glow. It was Eleanor, her expression a mixture of sorrow and desperation. You've come, she whispered, her voice echoing around us. You found the locket. Eleanor, I breathed, feeling a surge of connection. We want to help you. What do you need from us? Her form shimmered, and a wave of anguish washed over me. The fire. It was no accident. We were betrayed by those we trusted. They took our lives without a second thought. Our souls are trapped in this limbo, bound to this place by the injustice we suffered. My heart raced as I absorbed her words. What can we do to set you free? To help you find peace? Eleanor looked deep into my eyes, and I felt a rush of memories flooding my mind. Flames, screams, chaos. Return the locket to where it belongs. It is the symbol of our pain, but it can also be the key to our liberation. You must face the truth of your family's past. I felt a jolt at her words, a realization dawning on me. My family's history was intertwined with the tragedy of the fire. The weight of that knowledge threatened to crush me. Eleanor, I don't know if I'm ready for that, I admitted, my voice shaking. You must find the courage within you, Sarah. Only then can we be free, she urged, her voice growing fainter. As the vision of Eleanor began to fade, I felt the room around us shift. My heart raced as I saw glimpses of the fire again. The panic, the desperation. I could hear the cries of the spirits trapped in that moment, their anguish echoing in my mind. Eleanor, wait. I promise I'll help you. I shouted, but she was gone. The room grew still, the candles flickering softly as if they, too, were mourning the loss of her presence. Tom looked at me, his eyes wide with concern. What did she say? What do we need to do? I swallowed hard, the weight of her words pressing heavily on my chest. We need to return the locket to the cemetery. But there's more. My family, they were involved in the fire. I have to confront that truth to help them. Tom's expression hardened, a mix of fear and determination. Then we'll do it together, Sarah. You're not alone in this. I nodded, feeling a flicker of strength ignite within me. I knew the path ahead would be fraught with challenges, but I couldn't turn away. The spirits were counting on me, and it was time to face the ghosts of my family's past. As Tom and I stepped through the rusty iron gate of the cemetery, a chill swept through the air, wrapping around me like a cold embrace. The locket felt heavy in my pocket, a tangible reminder of the spirits we were about to confront. I glanced at Tom, who looked equally resolute yet anxious. "Are you ready for this?" he asked, his voice barely above a whisper. "I have to be," I replied, forcing a brave smile despite the gnawing fear in my gut. The sun was setting, casting an eerie glow over the graves, and shadows danced in the fading light. Each step we took felt like a step deeper into the unknown, and my heart raced as I recalled the anguished faces of the spirits I had seen during the seance. They were here, somewhere, waiting for us to begin. We found a small clearing among the stones, overgrown with wildflowers and weeds, and I set down the locket on a flat rock, taking a deep breath to steady myself. "This is where we'll do it," I said, trying to sound more confident than I felt. Tom nodded, kneeling beside me as we held hands, grounding ourselves with each other's presence. As I closed my eyes and began to recite the words we had prepared, the wind picked up, rustling the leaves in a frenzy. "Spirits of the forgotten, hear our call," I intoned, my voice trembling slightly. "We seek to release you from your pain and set you free." The ground beneath us trembled as a low rumble echoed through the air, making my heart leap into my throat. "Did you feel that?" Tom's eyes widened, a mix of fear and awe coloring his features. "Yes," I breathed, my palms slick with sweat. "It's starting." Suddenly, the sky darkened, and ominous clouds rolled in, blocking out the last rays of sunlight. Thunder rumbled like a warning bell, and I could feel the electric charge in the air. "We need to keep going," I urged, my voice stronger now. "We can't stop." As I continued, shadows began to materialize around us. Figures with hollow eyes and twisted expressions, their mouths moving silently. I felt a wave of despair wash over me, and I choked on a sob. They were not just trapped, they were furious. "What do you want from us?" I cried out, my heart pounding in my chest. The winds howled, and the spirits, once mere whispers, now screamed in anguish. Their forms flickered, revealing glimpses of the fire, the chaos, the horror, the cries of the innocent. "Sarah!" Tom shouted, his voice strained. "We need to stop." But I couldn't stop. I was drawn to the locket, to the stories it held. I could almost hear Eleanor's voice guiding me, urging me to understand. "You don't know what you've done," one of the spirits hissed, a wretched face twisting in my direction. "Your blood is on our hands." Confusion gripped me. "What do you mean?" I managed to ask, dread pooling in my stomach. As if answering my question, the air shifted, and a vision erupted in my mind. A family, my ancestors, standing amidst the flames, their faces twisted with remorse and guilt. My heart sank as realization crashed over me like a tidal wave. The fire, it was my family's doing. They had caused this tragedy, and now the spirits sought retribution. "No," I gasped, stumbling back. "I didn't know. I wasn't part of this." But the spirits only grew angrier, their forms swirling around me like a tempest. "You carry their legacy, their sins," they screeched, their voices blending into a cacophony of rage and anguish. The storm above us intensified, lightning illuminating the cemetery in brief flashes of blinding light. "Tom, we have to go," I yelled over the roaring wind, panic rising within me. But he shook his head, his eyes wide with fear. "We can't leave them like this, Sarah. What do you want me to do?" I cried back, desperation clawing at my throat. "I can't change what happened. I can't fix this." The storm reached a crescendo, and I felt myself being pulled into the chaos, the raw energy of the spirits entwining with the winds. I could see their faces, twisted in a torment that echoed through time. I screamed, my voice lost in the howling wind. As I realized the futility of my fight, I was powerless against the weight of my family's legacy, and the spirits remained bound to their pain, just as I was now bound to the storm. In that moment, I understood. I could neither save them nor escape their fate. The storm engulfed me, and as I was swept away, I could only hope that someday, someone would find a way to confront the darkness that lurked in our past. If you like this supernatural story, subscribe, like, and comment, and see the next supernatural horror story.